Ji, Vaheguru Ji Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Can you hear me?
GVG, we can hear you.
Okay, sounds good. So thank you for that, Balpreet. Um, I guess we can just get started. I know usually time is of the essence. I do want to be able to go through the material so that we can have a discussion, any questions, any answers. I mean, one of the things before I start, I always say is by no means am I the subject matter expert or teacher, or this is more of a sharing of information that I've gathered and reasoning behind why I even volunteered to do this topic, and kind of as Balpreet mentioned. This is just something that's part and parcel of responsibility of being a member of the community, and as from a Sikh Research Institute perspective, our goal here is to just shine some light on topics from very different angles. Many of you would probably know that this year is the 350th birth anniversary or Prakash anniversary of Guru Gobind Singh Sahib. So Sikhi has been doing a lot of other sessions related to Guru Gobind Singh Ji's life and inspiration. This is just another angle of that same kind of subject matter that we're continuing on. Everyone has gone through past week and maybe also happening this week Vaisakhi celebrations. So it's apt that we talk about this topic. It's in the context of Vaisakhi. I thought this year we'll focus a little bit on the family aspect of Vaisakhi. So what we want to do is go and first, so many of you maybe know or have listened to, whether on our YouTube or even listened to live, we had done a couple of webinars related to Vaisakhi and kind of highlighting the cultural context and then the Sikh spiritual context of it. So I'm going to just review a couple of those slides from many years ago that I had presented, and other members of Sikhi usually present. Delve a little bit into the actual ceremony of back in what happened in 1699 versus what we have today as the ceremony itself, how a Sikh is knighted a Singh. This is from those of you that read Sardar Kapoor Singh from one of his essays or core. Then the family angle that I'm trying to take is the Mata, Pita, and Bhai, right? The father, Dasam Pita Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Mata Sahib Kaur, and the Panj Piare, whom we know as the five lovers or the five beloved or the five loved ones as well. So after we go through that, then what? So what's the big deal, right? That from my angle, from my personal perspective, how to tie it all together. So that will be the context. About half an hour, 40 minutes, we'll walk through that. Excuse me. So obviously we can't talk about anything from a Sikh perspective, even in Vaisakhi, without dwelling into Gurbani and what does Gurbani say about that. All of you probably know in the Guru Granth Sahib there are two renditions of what we call the Barama, the 12 months. One is by Guru Nanak Sahib. This is in Rag Tukhari, and then the other one is by Guru Arjan Sahib. This is in Rag Maj. And the Barama is Punjabi poetic genre where and it's about love, love presented in a poetic style of walking through the 12 months of the year. Every month is related to a particular season, a particular atmosphere, and that natural atmosphere, that human feeling That's what really gets rendered within a typical Barama of the poetic genre. As usual, Guru Sahibs have taken just a mere poetic genre, transformed it into divine revelation, and really in both cases give us the what is really happening or what really makes sense to celebrate in the month of Vaisakh. Vaisakh being the second month of the 12 months, the first one being Chet. So in the first one up on top, Vaisakh Bala Sakha Veskare continues on, and it's one stanza of the full Barama. Nanak Vaisakhi Prabhave Surat Sabad Manmana, right? So it concludes with that. So Guru Sahib paints the picture. This is Guru Nanak. So the first one is Raktakari Guru Nanak on Panna 1108. And he paints a picture of what is happening in Vaisakh. Now, here in North America, we're also in the April time frame. It's a spring type of environment, at least in many parts of it, and also the same thing in India. So there is a lot of blossoming going on, as we know. And you know, there's terms in Gurbani about blossom forth. That's what's described in this stanza, this Shabad as well. But what Guru Sahib compares it to is that, you know, despite all the natural phenomena taking on, that's going on, if the humans' insides are not blossoming forth as well, quote unquote, blossoming forth, then what value is of that? And continues and concludes that, says Nanak, it's in this month of Vaisakh where natural beauty is blossoming forth. There's energy that causes it to do so. The human energy required to blossom forth, to be glorious inside and out, is Vaiguru's grace. And that grace translated through the Shabad is what allows the human to blossom forth. So, O Nanak, in Vaisakh, that's the time when that meeting or that realization of Vaiguru occurs, and that awareness and absorption. That's what the blossoming analogy comes from, of the mind, of the insides, you know, the dil, that comes from the Shabad. The other Barama in Rag Maj by Guru Arjan Sahib, that has a little different type of story that he tells, and that is this story of separation. Whereas Guru Nanak is talking about what is the Asli Vaisakh, Guru Arjan Sahib reveals to us that feeling of how can, it's kind of the same message, but the story is dwelt with this idea of what we know as pangs of separation. So there's always a want, a desire to meet the beloved. In the context of a typical mundane Barama would be just the husband and wife. Over here, the husband and wife has transformed into human and Vaiguru. And in the month of Vaisakh, when everyone around us or everything around us is blossoming forth and is connecting with that energy, that separated wife is in a, not in a panic, but in this anxiety mode of how can I be the one that's left behind? I need to also connect. What is the means by which I can connect? And Guru Sahib continues on and gives that, you know, what are the methods to connect? Just like how the environment connects with the divine. There are particular ways, particular mindsets that the human has to mold itself into to attain that grace, and then that Vaisakh does seem pleasing. Otherwise, the Vaisakh is, you know, there's an anxiety: is why is everyone, quote unquote, blossoming forth? The main kyo piche reh gayan? Why am I behind? And what should be the methodologies? What should be the mindsets? What should be my actions so that I can also blossom forth? Well, assurance is given by Guru Arjan Sahib in a beautiful way. He says, Vaisakh suhavan ta lage, Ja Sant Pete Har Soe. Vaisakh seems pleasing if Guru's grace allows the realization of Vaheguru within us. So when I read both versions, when I walk through the history of Vaisakhi, I personally feel that that's exactly what 1699 Guru Gobind Singh Ji, helped us visualize, is that whole separation and joining, the whole preparation and anxiety of the community as it was developing through the 240 years since 1469 to 1699. That's where this Gurbani is coming alive in actual physical, reality context. And that's what I wanted to, we'll go on and continue on and talk about along the way. But Vaisakh, or any time frame of the mind, is only pleasing when there's connection with Vaheguru. Both the Vaisakh and actually all the other months in Barama as described, it's a separation, sanjog, vijog subjects are covered, and the idea of grace and hukum, right? Which is the fundamental ikonkar idea that propagates through all of Guru Granth Sahib. Every month, every year, we delve into the Barama. The more and more, the repetition of delving into it, either by just reciting and contemplating on it, is rejuvenating. Every time one does it, when I do it, or I'm sure when others do it, there's new interpretations that can come out, and that's why it's a constant practice that's really required. Next two slides are what we had done, like I said, multiple years ago. A webinar is already available on that. The very interesting thing, the takeaway on this is that Vaisakh, or that time frame, or even that month of Vaisakh, in the cultural context in all of South Asia, has been prevalent as a time of celebration of sorts. In some contexts, it's a harvest festival. In other contexts, it's a Thanksgiving type of a time frame. But very interestingly, Gautam Buddha attained nirvana during that time frame as well. History tells us. Then all areas of South Asia, Assam, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala of today, they all have their own significance around the Vaisakhi day. There has been confusion even in the Sikh context sometimes that Vaisakhi or Vaisakh is our new year, whereas at least I think it's being everyone's in a little bit of harmony, at least as far as I know, that now everyone agrees that March 14th or Chet, the 1st of Chet, is the new year. But the confusion comes because in all these other areas, and even in Punjab, some groups have always, since historical times, considered Vaisakh to be the new year of their calendar. But in other areas, like especially in the south, Vaisakh is indeed from a calendar perspective, the new year. Interestingly, this year, the Vaisakhi weekend, quote unquote, was also Easter weekend. So we saw a lot more confluence of cultural, religious overlap going on within the community. At least I witnessed it. I don't know if others did as well. Anyway, there's a very significant cultural significance related to Vaisakh. So in Punjab, or at least from a Sikh perspective, whereas there is on the one side this cultural folk aspect, there's an enthusiasm, there's a celebration, it's a time of ambition and very, very community-centric. Guru Sahib, from the time of Guru Nanak, because we know historically that since the time of Guru Amar Das Ji, but even before, that there were certain times of the year where, as the Sangat started growing, there was a need to collect the Sangats together for both cultural, religious, political, economic, and social purposes, right? And so, but those aspects got converted to more of a development of the relationship with Vaheguru through Gurbani, through you know, activism of all angles for the upliftment of the character of the Sikh community, of the Sikhs individually as well as the community itself. So there was this whole divine culture where the shift happened. It was more of an inspiration, like a purposefulness and a collection, an inclusiveness of the community that started developing through the time of Guru Nanak till the time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. I do want to note that some historians, so there's many schools of thought, but one school of thought presents, and there's historical evidence to show that the birth of Guru Nanak was celebrated during the first of Vaisakhi. During the time of the Gurus, we have indication that that was really what was remembered and celebrated. So there is no coincidence, some posit, that when Guru Gobind Singh Ji collected all of the Sangats from all over to Anandpur Sahib on Vaisakhi of 1699, it was a standard. That celebration was also on people's minds, is the birth of Guru Nanak, the birth of the coming of the revolution of Guru Nanak. So it's an interesting, we see the paradigm shift. We also see a pattern that the Gurus were continually presenting forth. The other, like annual celebrations, people know one is Vaisakh or Vaisakhi. Diwali time frame is another one, and the Hola Mahalla time frame. So there were three major annual events that used to continue on throughout the times of the Gurus. What are we talking about, and what do we want to talk about today? One of the dates, maybe if you look on the left-hand side, maybe a question is really what are the significant things that happened in 1499 and 1599? We all know 1469, which was the coming of Guru Nanak. But what happened in 1499? What happened in 1599? And if you look at the dates, again, one of the problems we have from an academic perspective, historical perspective, is a confusion around dates. So I'm not going to get into those type of details, but we do know that it is around when Guru Sahib was 30 years old, around that time frame, that he started on his udasis, the odysseys, the travels in all of the different directions around South Asia, all the way to Mecca and further on one side, and then Tibet and China on the other, where he started his spreading of his message. So 1499, major time frame. 1599, so the Ad Granth, the Pothi Sahib, Guru Granth Sahib's first rendition, didn't happen in one day. It did take a long time for Guru Arjan Sahib to, sit with Bhai Gurdas Ji, have him scribe the full Ad Granth, Pothi Sahib, and inaugurated it. Pehla Prakash occurred in 1604. So it was about what historians can glean about a multi-year task, and 1599 is the time frame when Guru Arjan Sahib embarked on that task. Huge milestone, huge significance in our context. 1699, we all know, and that's what we focus on. 1799, that's the year, or pretty much 1800, when Ranjit Singh finalized the Sarkar-e Khalsa and it brought all the missiles together. Now, the first Sikh sovereign state was established by Banda Singh Bahadur Ji prior to that, but kind of the dynamics of the Sikh political and religious, religious situation changed in 1799. 1899, or that time frame, Singh Sabha Lair, the rejuvenation movement. 1999, there was a lot of hubbub. Everyone thought, oh yeah, it's finally the 1980s and 90s, a transformation is occurring. It's questionable how rejuvenating 1999 was, but it was significant. The question should be for us is how are we and how are our children what are going to be the significant events occurring at the end of this century. But 1699 and where we are today, that's what I wanted to cover. We all know, interestingly, March 30th, 1699 was the first of Vaisakhi. Back in that day, there was some changes to the Gregorian calendar, which now puts it at April 14th. And some say April 13th. Again, I don't want to get into the details of the dates. But the Khalsa order, the word Khalsa has been used in the Guru Granth Sahib. The more general understanding is pure, but the another angle of looking at the word from different language, but also contextual at that time, the political language at that time, Khalsa also meant directly under the sovereign or sovereign itself. So that's where the word Khalsa got significant. The events of 1699 were indeed a regeneration of the life, because if one looks at 1699 as a complete transformation, we're going to get into a little bit of trouble. We're going to go right into the hands of academics that are saying is, oh, the first 5 gurus were, you know, the pacifist gurus, and then times changed, and from Guru Har Gobind Sahib's time to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, they transformed and became, quote unquote, the militant angle, or the Sant idea was first, and then the Sipahi idea came later. So let's not kind of confuse when I say new birth, or that's in the context of some change. However, it was a reaffirmation of what was going on. And when we talk about some of the things that Guru Gobind Singh Patsha said that day, it'll make the context will be fine. However, the old social, political, and economic structures, which from Guru Nanak's time until the time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji were slowly yet patiently and with perseverance being chipped off. This was the inauguration of that preparation that had been going on for 240 years, right? Language that was used back then, that we can see from the chroniclers of the history, as well as the language that we have today, right, in the Sikrat Maryada of what happens during the time of the ceremony of Amrit that first occurred in 1699. It's so clear that there was a, you know, this is it. This is the inauguration of that build-up of that of the core bare essentials of what the community or what the individual who takes on this, you know, who presents the submission of their life to this cause, what it's really doing, and it is breaking off of the social, political, economic, as well as religious structures of the time. So that's in the context of what happens to us in 1699 as a community. Two things I want to mention here. I've always, throughout my kind of years of delving into studies and sharing of Sikh thought and history, really refrained from this idea of it's a birth. I've always said it's an inauguration. It's not the birthday of the Khalsa, because something that is born is bound to also die. Only Akal is the one that is beyond birth and death. So I always said it's the Prakash, the Sajna Divas, the inauguration of the Khalsa. But you know, to present the story of what happened on that day in 1699, at least one, but many others, but one major work that was done to present what occurred that time is by Nikki Guninder Kaur. And she actually, whereas I or the community knows and looks, that day is when we got our spiritual father and our spiritual mother and our spiritual brothers, siblings. Nikki presents it in a very interesting way, that the coming of the asking of the 5 heads of the Sikhs who would dedicate their lives to this cause was like a birthing moment that a mother would go through. In that context, she describes it pretty beautifully, and we can use those words and that vocabulary. It is still not an isolated event. It is a development that takes place over those 240 years with our Guru prophets, and it's a culmination of a new, a rejuvenation of the life, a regeneration of that life that had already been started in its embryonic stages in the time of Guru Nanak, with the fundamentals laid down and bringing it to fruition. So I just want to mention that the idea of this new birth has to be taken in context. It is not just complete new out of context. It's contextualized within the development that took place. So really, what is it that happened during this time of 1699? I'm not going to get into all of the details, because some interesting things I will tell you as I was reading through and also listening to some of even the 350 anniversary seminars and lectures that went through, is that there are many different sources for exactly what happened on that particular day in 1699. So the nuances of exactly what happened, was there Tambu, Hagasi, and Nasi, was it goats, was it not goats? I kind of want to get away from all of that riffraff, but to understand 3 or 4 messages that are pretty consistent, regardless of the actual technical aspects of that day or the history. What were the messages that were being sent out? Or what were the messages that were within all of these different narratives of what happened on that day? One thing is for sure, Guru Gobind Singh Ji was there. Another thing for sure, there were 5 heads. There was the transformation of 5 Sikhs based on Guru Gobind Singh Ji's call. Another thing is for sure that rarely gets mentioned or discussed is that the Mata of the Guru was, the Mata of the Khalsa was there as well. Patase were indeed put into the Bata. Actually, there are some narrations which exclude that completely. The Bata is there, the Khanda is there, the Patasa sometimes don't get mentioned. But at least if you look at the majority of the narrations, whether it is from Sikh sources, whether it is from Muslim sources, and by the way, some that believe it to be the most authentic is the narration of the events from that spy of Aurangzeb who was in the congregation at that time, and then later on his rendition is available from Bhutte Shah, which comes later in the time of Ranjit Singh. But the point is that his narration is there. It was sent to Aurangzeb, and he also went through what happened on that day. And by the way, in his narration, there was no separate tambu. It was all done in the open. But that's the point, is that there are certain aspects of what happened in 1699 that are, we as Sikhs, we take for granted. Guru Gobind Singh Ji asked for 5 heads. There was a little bit hesitation. Then 5 individuals came one by one, one after the other, knowing what was going on. We know that Guru Gobind Singh Ji recited the 5 Banis. During the recitation of the 5 Banis or after, these are where all of the facts are a little bit, depending on the sources, a little bit different. But the fact is that the Patase were put in. By the way, in some of the sources that I read, it was Mata Jitoji. In some of the sources I read, it was Mata Sahib Kaur. In another source I read, like I said, that it wasn't, neither of them were there. However, the Sikhs, I think a majority of the Sikhs believe that indeed the Patase were there, and the significance being the strong steel and the sweetness of the Patase is what makes the San Sipahi, which is the same thing as the Miri Piri, which is the same thing as the Raj Yog of Guru Nanak. So, and by the way, I have no text over here, but the other thing that is absolutely clear and is some believe the most significant aspect of Vaisakhi is the Gurchela aspect. After the five were transformed by Guru Gobind Singh Ji in that beautiful, dynamic, very powerful ceremony, he begs for the Daat of Amrit himself from the five. And, that's also pretty clear in all of the different sources that that event did take place as well. What's interesting to me in all of these pictures that I'm showing, I'm not a big fan of paintings and renditions of the Guru, image of the Guru in painting, but I'm growing as well. So for a message, occasionally I go ahead with the rest of the community in allowing these type. But in all, I was going through so many images and so many renditions and paintings, and I always see five, the Panj, Guru Gobind Singh Sahib, and Mata of the Khalsa, whether it's Mata Jito Ji, whether it's Mata Sundari, whether it's Mata Sahib Kaur. We can talk about the three different, and it's very consistent. In the corner sometimes is the Mata, but either the five are kneeling and Guru Sahib is bestowing Amrit, or Guru Sahib is kneeling and the five are bestowing the Amrit. But steadfast, part and parcel of this scene, of this picture, is the Mata as well. I just feel that those, and by the way, there's always also a Sevadar doing chore. Some say it was by Mani Singh who was doing the chore that day. Some they say it was somebody else, by Nandla. So all of these six that we know were indeed in the congregation. They didn't come after. They didn't come before. So they were there, but it wasn't they who offered their head first. Here's another interesting one. I like this picture a lot because there are some narratives that say all of the Panj Piare came out in saffron, in Kesri Barna. Some say they came out in the Nihang Nila, the blue Barna. Some say they came out in white. So which color did they come out from? Who knows? Here we have green, red, and yellow, which is very interesting, I thought. But there again is the Sevadar doing the Chor Seva, and they're also very centrally placed in this case is the Mata. And here we go again. In this case, the Mata is also Tyarbata, and everybody's in the Nila Bana. So it continues on, but what happened on that day after the whole ceremony? There is a sermon as well. There is a lecture that Guru Sahib provides to the Panj Piare, and as a consequence, potentially also maybe the rest of the Sangat. He basically says that from this day onward, Khalsa mero roop hai khas, Khalse mein ho karo nivas, Khalsa mero mukhya anga, Khalsa ke ho sat satsanga. That from today onwards, there is no difference between you and me. Just like in the time, and again, these quotes are all available. They were in the previous lectures of the 350th anniversary that we had. I didn't print those quotes up, but most of the sources that you can go to will have some rendition of this message that I'm sharing. Is number one, there is no difference between the both of us anymore, you and me anymore, Guru Sahib is saying. And just like the time when Guru Angad became Guru Angad from Pailana, there was no difference between Guru Nanak Sahib Ji and Guru Angad Ji, that became part of the limb. Just like there was no difference between Guru Angad Sahib and Guru Amar Das Ji, and on continuing. Just like there was no difference between Bala Pritam Guru Har Krishan Ji and Baba Bakala Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. This is the same way. The Guruship is getting bestowed, or at least the kaya, the body guru is getting transformed to the Panj Piare, and by association the Khalsa, and that's why we call it the Guru Khalsa Panj. So in addition, just like we celebrate the Gurgadi Divas of all the Gurus on Vaisakhi 1699, is the Gurgadi Divas of the Guru Khalsa. It was in 1708, which we celebrate every year. The Guru Granth Sahib Gurgadi Divas, it gets celebrated every year. We have a Prakash Divas of the Guru Granth Sahib. We have the Gurgadi Divas of Guru Granth Sahib. Vaisakhi, another way to say Vaisakhi, maybe our vocabulary will change. I have seen that vocabulary in some other books and sources, is that Vaisakhi 1699 is the Gurgadi Divas of the Guru Khalsa. Right? So that is also very clear, consistent, that the act of Guru Gobind Singh Ji asking for Amrit from the Panj Piare, who he just transformed into the Panj Piare, was the a symbolic but also physical representation that the Guru is the bestower of Amrit. So it's very significant from my perspective of what happened on that day. Now, what happened on that day is this idea of a new birth. There's other things that he said on that day in his own way, which we now have today in the Sikrat Maryada. Is after the Amrit ceremony is conducted. First of all, sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. The asking of the heads shows us significantly that this was not a forced conversion of any kind. This was really those that willingly want to enter the house of the Guru, want to enter and publicly declare that they are now true born members of the house of the Guru. So, and if we put it into that context, the Guru is asking this. Nowadays, whenever there are ceremonies of Amrit, there are ceremonies on the ne, at least I experienced it a couple of times. I don't know all of the other, because there are quote unquote different styles of Amrit ceremonies today, even though the Sikrat Maryada has codified in general how the proceedings should proceed. I do want to read a little bit about how Sardar Kapoor Singh has kind of rendered what is the process of the modern day Amrit ceremony. Again, this is Sardar Kapoor Singh's very elaborate description of the events that occurred. The Sikrat Maryada is also clear. I won't read the original Gurmukhi of the Sikrat Maryada. There is a translation of the Sikrat Maryada one. But as Guru Gobind Singh Ji asked for that I need that head on that day, and it was physical, it was symbolic, it was all of those things. What Sardar Kapoor Singh writes is very interesting, the way in which the head is asked even today in all the Amrit ceremonies that take place all over the world. He says, Sikhi enjoins love and worship of the one Creator in contradistinction to the creatures. This worship must be implemented through selfless service of humanity and compassion towards all living creatures. Such selfless service and compassion must be inspired by continuous and progressive understanding of the Guru's word, Gurbani, as recorded in the Guru Granth Sahib, broad-based on the discipline of the Naam. Holy congregation is the context of this great discipline, and the Khalsa is the society pledged to propagate and perpetuate this holy way of life, through which the mankind shall be blessed in the beginning, shall be blessed in the middle, and shall be blessed in the end, without end and forever and ever. Do you, after due consideration and voluntarily, accept this way of life? So, today, when the Panj Piare gather to perform an Amrit ceremony, the spokesman for the Panj Piare will ask, sometimes very tersely, Kabul karde ho, do you, or whatever the vocabulary may be, and sometimes in a very eloquent and flowery way, and Sardar Kapoor Singh has kind of eloquently explained that no one goes into the Amrit ceremony without being asked, are they coming voluntarily? There are also episodes that I know, incidents that I know, where people have been rejected because they showed a little bit of hesitation, didn't know whether they were ready or not, or were maybe being forced. And the Panj Piare, in their divine, wisdom, say that maybe you are not ready. Please come again, and with love, have to ask someone to leave. So that's how the request for or the challenge to the volunteer is: do you want to come walking down this path with your head in your palm? Joto prem kilan ka chao se tatali gali meri aao. Guru Sahib asked it in his moj, in his way. The Sikhs of today, or the Panj Piare of today, perpetuate that same call to action in their own way. So I wanted to kind of share that just to distinguish between 1699 and everything we'll read, and really the same thing is happening today, but in the more modern, in our context. We all know the two, sorry, not the two, but we know that back then as well, Guru Gobind Singh Ji mentioned context of: you are now born in Keshgarh Sahib, your town is Anandpur, your mother, your father is Guru Gobind Singh Ji, your mother is Mata Sahib Kaur. Now, when we and this whole idea of the Nash doctrine, which you may have read or heard about, where your Kul Nash, Sharam Nash, Dharam Nash, they're the 5 different ones. I have it in the slide and I can share with you. But your old genealogy, your country, religious customs, caste, subconscious memories, all the karams of the past have all been annihilated essentially, and then you are born free in the house of the Guru, and now your actions are going to get evaluated based on the here and now. Now when we do this, very interestingly, I don't know, to be honest, because I haven't read that in any of those old historical narratives. Things that stuck with me during the Amrit ceremony and that I have witnessed as well is we always cover in the Amrit ceremony something to the effect of: learn Gurmukhi. If you do not already know how to do it, I'm quoting here. Read the Guru Granth Sahib or hear it read and explained daily as far as practicable. This is Sardar Kapoor Singh's vocabulary, as far as possible, and recite the 5 compositions of the Guru. So I like to always highlight that every Amrit ceremony today, the Sikh Rahat Maryada today, has a very, very specific injunction to all Sikhs, whether they're in the ceremony of partaking in the ceremony of Amrit or otherwise as well. But for sure, for all Tyar Bar Tyar Khalsa, it is essential to learn Gurmukhi. It is not. It doesn't say learn Punjabi or learn Braj Bhasha or learn, the languages within the Guru Granth Sahib. That's obviously bonus, but it does say learn Gurmukhi, because through this script is how we can directly engage. If you don't and you can't, at least engage with Gurbani. So that aspect of engaging with Gurbani was, I think, kind of a given during the time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji in 1699. Probably, that's my assertion. However, now we have to over and over constantly repeat, because unfortunately we're falling. Here's a few other examples. So I wanted to get into the family aspect of this. So on this day, we really literally get told that my previous family affiliations annihilated. So my current mother and father, my current family is there. It doesn't get annihilated. It's actually there. I do have worldly father, mother, and rest of my family. But at the end of the day, in the real sense, Guru Gobind Singh Ji is my Pita. Mata Sahib Kaur is my Mata. And then the Panj Piare are my brothers, are my siblings. Again, I just have in this whole presentation, I had mentioned we're going to talk about father, mother, and siblings. I cannot talk about Guru Gobind Singh Ji. I don't have the capacity or the capability. Many are trying to do so, hundreds of books at least, and multiple in the past, and multiple lectures, seminars, webinars, and presentations, especially this year. Seems like there's a large increase. And one of the things that we always say is it's not possible, right? We cannot do it justice. You have to be of the Guru to be able to speak of the Guru. And people like Bhai Nandlal Ji and others have also given us glimpses in what the relationship of a Sikh with Guru Gobind Singh Ji and the life history of Guru Gobind Singh Ji as well. But so I just it's not easy for me to even give you like a take-home message on what is it about Guru Gobind Singh Ji that we can take home. There is so much. It is so vast that there's a speechlessness that empowers, that engulfs me as well when that has to be spoken. The only thing that I take away is Guru Gobind Singh Ji. I have heard this. Obviously, I have not seen it. Somehow, it is always the case in application forms or in the context of judicial and court cases that one has to write the name of the father, name of the mother. Sikh history tells us that during the time of the Gurdwara reform movement, when all of the Sikhs got jailed, and even the recent movements of the 80s and 90s, when these questions were asked, who is your father? The answer with in a buland awaj, in a strong voice, would be, Guru Gobind Singh Ji is my father. Who is your mother? Mata Sahib Kaur is my mother. Those are real examples. Those are not made up legends. I know people today who have answered in that way. So that's all I can say, is that if a Sikh progresses in their relationship with the Guru, that when asked a question like, who is your father, in an official government or political context or any kind of context, when a Sikh has their being is so in tune with their father, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, that they answer that way and they don't answer the biological father's name, that's I think where we as Sikhs should be at least striving for, that our relationship with the Guru should be so much so that truly that relationship of father is understood between us and Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And same should be with our relationship with who is our mother. Again, I'm not a sociologist. I don't know what a child's relationship with father versus mother. Guru Sahib, has been presenting this through Gurbani and through history, there is the relationship is fundamentally equal. Tu mera pita, tu hai mera mata, tu mera bandhap, tu mera prata. Us humans, with the true leader of our life, the true relationship of our life, is both mother and father. So it wouldn't be logical that on 1699, if Guru Gobind Singh Ji did say that from this day onwards your father is Guru Gobind Singh and your mother is Mata Sahib Kaur, that Mata Sahib Kaur has some like lower kind of position in relation to this. So father and mother of the Khalsa, Guru Gobind Singh Ji and Mata Sahib Kaur Ji, are part and parcel, equal parents for us. Many in history, many have asked that, why was there no woman who were the Panj Piare? Why was there no woman who was the Guru? And I don't have an answer to that. That is Akal Purukh ki Moj. That is what has been presented in through the Hukam of Waheguru as it comes down. However, if we look at it from a different angle, if in Gurbani, Guru Sahib has said, Tanpir ena akhiye band kathe hoye, ek jo doi murti tanpir ke ye soye. That the husband and wife relationship, even in the worldly sense or the spiritual sense, are not where they're separate. They're actually one altogether. So why is it a problem for us to say that Mata Sulakshmi, Mata Kivi, all of the wives of the gurus, each guru, except Guru Har Krishna Sahib, who didn't reach that age for that relationship, were our Guru Matas as well. So when Guru Gobind Singh Ji presents in 1699 going forward, who would be our mother and father, then the Guru Mata was an obvious thing to be presented as well. It wouldn't have been void of the feminine side of that divine relationship as well. And again, Nikki doesn't do much justice to that aspect, but takes the feminine aspect of that, the drama that was unfolding on 1699, presents it beautifully. I would have wanted more to see how the Mata aspect also presents itself. Reason why I brought this topic up this time, in our Khalsa schools, there's one in the Khalsa school here in the Boston area, in the Gurdwara, one grade is going through the life of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and there were very, very pointed and serious questions to one of the teachers on the wives of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, or Mata Sahib Kaur, the mother of the Khalsa, because there was one session there, and I got asked these questions. So what's going on over here? So I'll tell you, so many different renditions of Mata Sahib Kaur, Mata Sundari Ji, Mata Jito Ji, and for me, I'm not going to present here what my view is. I want to take it up, that question kind of at the other level. Look in the context of the Khalsa. Like all children have, have the mother and father. What is the relationship of the Khalsa with their mother and father? And Mata Sahib Kaur's history needs to be known, or where she came from and what she did after the passing of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, or after 1699, is really important. And I'll give you 3 or 4 things very, very quick. She was born in 1681 in Jhelum district, so it's on the western side, West Punjab, in the Pakistan side now, in Rohtas. So some chroniclers say that the time actually where she met with Guru Gobind Singh Ji was 1700, the year after 1699. But she did indeed receive Khandiki Pahul. She was spiritually wedded to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji declared her at some time the mother of the Khalsa. So that's what. So whether it was done on that day in 1699 or later, it is clear, it is agreed that she had been declared the mother of the Khalsa. So she stayed and had a special loving relationship, one of the books says, with the Chote Sahibzade as well. So but she helped raise the 4 Sahibzade. She was indeed separated at Anandpur Sahib during that time frame, and ended up in other part of Punjab, but ended up in Delhi with Mata Sundari Ji. In the Darbar of Mata Sundari, many of you may or may not know, but there was a young boy who later on became the Sultan ul Qaum, Jassa Singh Ahluwalia. Many of you know. It is known that Mata Sahib Kaur was the one who mentored Jassa Singh Ahluwalia as well. It was called the Darbar of Mata Sundari Ji, but Mata Sahib Kaur was involved in the mentoring of Jassa Singh Ahluwalia. She did end up in the south, or in the Deccan, called, that city of Nanded, where Hazur Sahib is, with Guru Gobind Singh Ji, but then was told to go back to Delhi. When she was told to go back to Delhi, Guru Gobind Singh Ji bestowed her with 5 shastras, with 5 arms, And chroniclers say that these 5 arms belonged to Guru Har Gobind Sahib, so it was in the family of the Guru. And apparently, and I've never seen it, but today these are stored in Gurdwara Rakab Bin Sahib in Delhi. So those are able to be displayed and shown. Hopefully it's still there. It also had Guru Gobind Singh Ji's seal in there. There was some interaction along the years with Baba Banda Singh Bahadur and Mata Sahib Kaur specifically. There have been some hukamnamas, I don't know the exact count, but some hukamnamas bearing Mata Sahib Kaur's name on it and the seal. And in one of her hukamnamas, she basically presents her relationship with the Khalsa and with her love and her relationship with the Guru. And she says, "You are my children. The perfect Guru will protect your honor." Rest of the hukamnamas, I have a couple of here from, it's a book called Mata Sahib Kaur by Gyani Hari Singh. And Sikhan Puttan di seva di vela hai, loj ke seva karoge, seva dargah thai pavage. All right, so she is more of not an injunction, but the hukamnamas that she has presented more are giving of blessing and giving of assis to different sangats across the region, and considering them to be her sons or her children. That is the significance of Mata Sahib Kaur for back then when she was alive. That should be the significance for us today. As we seek the blessings of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, we should seek the blessings of Mata Sahib Kaur as well. In our ardas, when we do mention Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sab Thai Hoi Sahai, subconsciously, maybe an addition is consider Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Mata Sahib Kaur's blessings to come simultaneously, is maybe one direction that I would love to give. Many of you have read this before. Now let's talk a little bit about the Panj Piare. Time is going a little bit more than I thought. By Daya Singh, by Taram Singh, by Himmat Singh, by Mokam Singh, and by Sahib Singh are the Panj Piare. The only takeaway here is maybe in this one slide that I want to really get across. Other than by Daya Singh, the original first Panj Piare who came to give his head, everyone else was not from Punjab. So this whole discussion that's going on about Sikhs are Punjabi, Punjabi are Sikhs, has to be looked at it from this angle. I don't even think Guru Gobind Singh Ji went to Lahore, but at least he was from Punjab. The places where the rest of the Panj Piare came from, the 4 Panj Piare, were places where Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Guru Nanak Sahib had visited, not where Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sahib had visited. Not even some of the other Gurus. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, Guru Har Gobind Ji have traveled extensively across that region. But I don't think Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji went to Bidar or Jagannath Puri. Everyone knows the Sakhi of Jagannath Puri, where Gagan Mein Thal Rab Chand Deepak Bane was revealed. That was Guru Nanak Sahib. And by Mokam Singh was from Jagannath Puri, which is in Odisha. By Sahib Singh, believe it or not, his quote unquote caste or his profession was that of a barber. Bidar, which is in Karnataka, which back then was called the Mysore kingdom, was where Guru Nanak Dev Ji went. Gujarat, Dwarka on the coast was also where Guru Nanak Dev Ji went. Hastinapur is close to Delhi. It's in the Saharanpur district, so it's Uttar Pradesh now, really. But again, not quote unquote Punjab. The diversity with which, even despite all the other, quote unquote famous Sikhs of Guru Gobind Singh Ji's time that were there in 1699 in Anandpur Sahib, is very significant, needs to be looked at. Now, diversity doesn't mean there's no discipline. The discipline of Amrit remains a unifying factor, but within that unifying factor, this idea of Punjab to nahi hai, Fulana, samajh nahi hai, he wouldn't understand because he's not from that region. he wouldn't understand. He's from a different family background. That level of not being considered as one family has to stop. And if we can go back and try to kind of ingrain this in our minds, that may be one way to do that, is to just see where the Panj Piare came from. Every Panj Piare since then has to have that aspect, in that there are individuals, but they are not individuals as well. They are one collective of the Panj Piare, but their backgrounds can be any. The day they were born into the house of the Guru, those previous affiliations, even geographic affiliations, are gone. And the Khalsa ideals are so vast that geography doesn't matter, background doesn't matter, profession doesn't matter. What matters is the foundation on the basis of the Ik Onkar, is what matters. I do want to give you just a few tidbits of the age of them. Here we go. Oops, sorry. So Paidea Singh, Lahore, he was 30 years old in 1699, and he died in Nadir. He passed away in Nadir, was very active, following the Guru's needs and orders post 1699 as well. I won't get into those type of details. Bhai Dharam Singh also passed away in Nadir, and there is a Gurdwara commemorating both Bhai Daya Singh and Bhai Dharam Singh down over there. Bhai Himmat Singh, a few years earlier, which was basically the Chamkor di Gadi. So I don't know if that's the right date, but Bhai Mokam Singh and Bhai Himmat Singh were known to have passed away in the battles. So, and their ages are not that they're not that young, but they're not that older either. They're all were in their 30s or 40s, was the age and time frame for that. So we are gone beyond a little bit of time. I think the significance of having a spiritual mother, spiritual father, and spiritual brothers or siblings of that time really, this idea of the Khalsa and the Sikhs being one family, doesn't matter where, as family members grow old, everyone chooses a different profession nowadays. Back in the day, it wasn't the case, but there's a lot of diversity in growing up in a family. Everyone has their own different character, but there's some kind of unwritten bond that bonds them together. That's what I think has been missing over the past few years. We have had multiple attempts to try and bring it back. I see always this Chardikala attitude and the striving for this connection continues, but we can't lose our focus on it. Otherwise, that's what transforms into the Tendikala rather than the Chardikala. Here, and that's what I wanted to say. I want to continue. Even though our vocabulary will say Char Varan Ek Varan Kiye, the four castes were converged into one, this has to be taken into the larger context, where every aspect of a difference was actually unified under one canopy of the Khalsa. So there is no priestly class. Everyone was put at the same level. Even the significance of all drinking from the same bata, it definitely annihilates this whole distinction between the different classes, that one is pure and one is impure. But even at another level of whether there's this superiority based on intellect gets annihilated away by the mere action of taking that same bowl, sipping it, and then passing it to the person on your side, and they also sip it at the same time. So that Amrit ceremony is not just ephemeral, one-time kind of experience that has to stay with that. That is for that a Bilakhi or the Sikh who partakes in it, but it has to continue on after. So non-hegemonic, non-exclusive, and in the context of the Singh and Kaur idea, many people don't think this, but our last name and caste names like Grewals and Khuranas and Sanis and Sethis and all the other names that we use today, there are a large group of families that are actually taking those last names off and sticking with Singh and Kaur. So our daughters, when they do get married, will remain Kaur, and our sons won't have the pride of they are from a certain district or a certain caste or a certain background by keeping their name as Singh. So that is also the significance of what was ordained on that day regarding our names is significant. Many people have talked about it. I don't have to go into those type of details. So one family, many members, and the idea of freedom with the Nash doctrine. I think this has been covered in other webinars or other things as well. So religious, the deeds, so the karam nash. So karam, the idea of the keeping of the accounts vanishes, and what is now the inspiration for actions? It is grace rather than karam, rather than a accounting. The janam nash is about caste and family. Sharam nash is an interesting one. This is the economic freedom that now was put on or allowed for the Sikhs, is regardless of which you were born, any profession, as long as it is a noble profession, is something that there's no constraints on it. And of course, superstitions and ritualization of Sikhi, you're not bound by these as well. I want to conclude, even though it's been a little bit more time than I had thought. One of the things that I would like to share with everyone, I went all different places, tried to keep it in context of the father, the mother, and the siblings, and the significance of 1699 versus how we take the ceremony of Amrit and the progression of our community today. Without knowing where we came from, we don't know, or we will not know, how we will go forward. There has been, and it's that people are always free to share their opinions. There has been certain narratives coming out online that our values are equal to different communities' values or a different context of values. One of our problems, I think, is before we even compare our values with somebody else's values, let's try to understand what our values are. Where are our values coming from? When things occur to us as an individual, as our family, or as a community, how is it that we're supposed to react? Do we react as a panic mode? Do we react thoughtfully? What are our Gurbani narratives that give us guidance on how to do it? What are our historical narratives? And what has been our traditions? For me, in order to understand our values, we have to do some serious study. At least my favorite one, and I think Sikri has presented it in the past, it is worth going over the 10 values, the 10 core principles of the 10 gurus as presented by Nand Lal's Ganjnama, all the way from Guru Nanak to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Just take those 10 words. I don't have it here, but you can easily find it online on our extensive information on our website, and see if we can really interpret those words. It's English translations of the words that come in the Ganjnama, and see if we are truly able to articulate for ourselves that this is indeed what our values are. And then once we know them, we can maybe compare it with something that some other community or some other entity presents as their value. I want to reiterate again and again that the learning of Gurmukhi that I always try to, share with people is not for just the mere learning of Gurmukhi, because that's a good skill to have, but the learning of Gurmukhi, as the injunction came from the Gurus, Guru Angad Sahib personally used to teach the children to read and write Gurmukhi. Another interpretation of the word Gurmukhi is Guru-oriented. It will indeed, I truly believe, and it's my opinion, so you can take it for what it is, that the learning of Gurmukhi will enhance the character of a Gurmukh, character into a Gurmukh, into a Guru-oriented person. So Gurmukhi learning itself is the most important foundation. It is from there that then we can delve into the next level of interpretation to understand. So it's the studying and the reading, which is an absolute requirement. Studying and reading and knowing all these factoids about history that I get so excited about is of no value until you can, interpret those, translate those into actions in your life. And one of the actions is the engagement with the community, seva. Community, Panth ki jeet. So the Khalsa community is definitely a priority, but the purpose of serving the Khalsa is obviously to serve humankind, as has always been. It's like a cliche that we use, but it is truly ingrained in one of our core values, which is Sarbat Dafala. This is a long quote. After the Amrit ceremony concludes, after you have been told your father is Guru Gobind Singh Ji, your mother is Mata Sahib Kaur, and the Panj Piare are the one who are embracing you and elevating you to that level of the Khalsa through that ceremony. The Panj Piare, your siblings at that time, your siblings who are the face of the ephemeral face of Guru Gobind Singh Ji at that time. By the way, when the ceremony is conducted and the Panj Piare are stirring the Amrit, they are told to remember the ephemeral vision of Guru Gobind Singh Ji within themselves and focus their sight on the Amrit, just like Guru Gobind Singh Ji did. Well, after all that is done, then they give you a sermon. They say, this is what you should do next. Again, from Sardar Kapoor Singh. Remain ever ready to serve the Khalsa Panth and through it, the whole of humankind. Panth ki jeet, sarbat dafala. Whatever you earn as your livelihood, which must be of lawful and through legitimate creative effort, a 1/10 of it must be donated to further the commonwealth, the Swand, to the Khalsa, to the public treasury of the Khalsa. And all your life must be lived in a Sikh-like manner. What is the Sikh-like manner? What is the Sikh value system? It starts with, this means the discipline of the Naam, earning of the livelihood through legitimate and creative effort, eschewal of all forms of exploitation of man by man, essentially kirt karni, and sharing the fruits of your labors with others in a universal spirit of love, one chakna. So Naam Japna, one chakna, and kirt karni. Those are the three legs of our value system. And if we understand that, then let's start comparing our value system with other communities or other groups. Be a disciplined member of the Khalsa always, and if you commit a lapse, confess it before an assembly of the Khalsa and accept the penance they impose upon you, and be careful in the future. So that sermon, that example is given. What is the significance of having this new family? The significance is, and it gets presented in this type of form. So I cannot be the one who shares with you what is the significance of having the family members of the Khalsa as presented through history and today. It is part and parcel of the Amrit ceremony. So let's join in. For those that haven't, think about when you will want to submit, because the call is perpetual. The Guru Gobind Singh Ji's call to give our head is perpetual. For those who have already given through the ceremony, make sure we are also adhering to the value systems and the principles that we were told on that day, and we continue to be told as we practice our discipline. So thank you for the listening for this long time. I don't know if any questions or other things came along the way, but if I erred and went off tangent or made in my anxiousness to present so much information that's been kind of in my mind and through all of the preparation I've done. I apologize for the mistakes, but I would definitely love to engage in any questions for things that I may have stumbled through, or even some things that I may not have touched. So, Balpreet Kaur, if you're still on, I hand it back to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this great presentation, Viji. We do have a few questions. Kulvinder Singh from Sacramento is wondering what sources are there that prove that the first Guru's birthday was celebrated during Vaisakhi? He wants you to be more specific where you actually got that information. And in general, if it's possible for you to provide a list of resources, different authors maybe, that could be helpful for anyone who would like to read more about all the history that you provided in their own time.
Okay, sure. So that's an interesting question. Again, like I said, so a text, a history book, which is more on the modern time, so it's not during the times of the gurus, worth reading is the book called Kattak Ke Vaisakh by Karam Singh Historian. That's a Punjabi book. However, indication is given in Bhai Gurdas Ji's Bani, where the idea of Bisoa. So one of the vars where the word Bisoa is used, if we study that Pauri or that var, it gives an indication of the coming of Guru Nanak was in the time of Bisoa. So some have interpreted that to be the actual Bisoa and Vaisakhi actually mean the same thing. There are probably many others that don't come to mind right now. I'm not sure on the stance that Sri Guru Pant Prakash, Suraj Prakash, and the others present, but the legend or the story goes that the idea of Guru Nanak Sahib's Gurpurab or Prakash Purab being celebrated in the month of Kattak actually starts during the time of Ranjit Singh. I want to actually take another angle to this as well. The Mahan Kosh of Paikan Singh Nabha, when you study this, sorry, not the Mahan Kosh, the Gurmat Martand by Paikan Singh Nabha, when you study the section called Gurpurabs, he tells us that the Gurpurabs that were generally celebrated in the Sikh community were three kinds. Gurpurab, the birth anniversary of only two of the Gurus, which is very interesting, I thought. The first Guru, Guru Nanak, and the 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Sahib. So those were the two birth anniversaries, or Prakash anniversaries. However, the majority of the celebrations, or majority of the getting together, and the more significant dates were the Gurgaddi Divasas of all the rest of the Gurus. So Guru Angad and Guru Tegh Bahadur. And then the third is the Shahidi Purabs. So Guru Arjan Sahib and Guru Tegh Bahadur. So three kinds of Gurpurab: birth, Gurgaddi, and Shahidi. And the only two births which has, by the way, the most controversy as far as dates in the modern day, because Kai Kandan Kattak Ke Vaisakh for Guru Nanak Sahib, and Kai Kandan is January 5th always every year, and then, and some say the dates change for Guru Gobind Singh Ji. So that's a side note, but I thought that's another piece of tidbit I'd share. That's from Paikan Singh Nabha, Gurmat Martin.
Awesome.
General resources for, what was it again? What was the question?
General resources for all of the history that you mentioned. Perhaps it can be sent out as an email later on.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, everyone should know, and if it's not on our webpage, we should put it. So Sikri has produced a just general book list at our Siddhak program every year. We do hand that out, or at least email that out. But for this subject matter for today, or actually any subject matter, one of the things that we always encourage is what's primary sources and secondary sources. So before we even delve into any concept or idea, we obviously have to start with our Bani, Guru Granth Sahib, Dasam Pita di Bani, and Bhai Gurdas and Bhai Nanlal's Bani. So those are actual sources for obviously our theology, but some of them may also help us with our historical ones. Then the secondary sources start. Standard ones you'll hear are like the Prakash genre, which is like Suraj Prakash, Suraj Prakash by Santokh Singh, Sri Guru Panj Prakash by Ratan Singh Pangu. Again, there's a lot more associated with that. There's the Gur Bilas series. All of these are available as modern day books with annotations by authors. So the original manuscripts, etc. I don't know if anyone can get access to those regularly. Many people do have it, but there are already translations of most of these in English now, but most were original Punjabi. And then the three authors that I recommend, English-related authors, are of course Principal Teja Singh's, any books from him, both history and theology and Gurbani translations. Sardar Kapoor Singh, if for those that are academically inclined, and some of the quotes I already gave you, and books by Professor Puran Singh. So those are the three top that come to mind. But again, this is a very small sample. There's a lot more, and Sikri has provided in the past a book list for that.
Awesome. Well, we have 3 minutes left until our webinar has to end.
Oh, okay.
One last question, and I think you could answer it if you keep it short. Why does Ravinder Singh from Columbus is asking, why does Sikhi have to be predicated on Gurmukhi? The message can be distilled and made more culturally independent and universal if we were to serve humanity. Humanity should have access to the teachings, and they do not have to be in Gurmukhi.
Okay, so I don't posit that it should be predicated on Gurmukhi. Well, it should be presented in the Gurmukhi script for the individuals who professes to be Sikh to either participate in the discipline of Naam through the recitation of Bani or the singing of Kirtan or any aspect. Gurmukhi is not the language. Gurmukhi is the script in which any language can be presented. So the script is what gives us the unique and sovereign identity for the community. And maybe that's why there's so much emphasis on Gurmukhi in our historical narratives. Today, yes, absolutely. Everything and anything should be translated for us and for the service of humanity. People like me, I'm not an expert at any of the languages of the Guru Granth Sahib, so I absolutely, partake in the translations. But the energy that I get by directly engaging with the Guru Granth in the script itself is, I think, something. Maybe at an individual level, but I do feel that the community can benefit from that as well, as has been enjoined by our ancestors. They have asked us to do that, so it's just, I think, a responsibility we should all take.
Wonderful.
I tried to be short. I could go on and on, but it's not to be confined only to Gurmukhi. Gurmukhi is the springboard for us to enable us to do the accurate translations.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions, Viji, and thank you for everyone who asked those questions. You're more than welcome to continue to ask these questions on our Twitter handle or our Facebook page, and we will surely post our replies. Please be reminded as we are concluding this session that these webinars are provided for free, but there is a cost associated with its technology and administration. If you feel as if you've benefited from this particular webinar or others in the past, please consider making a donation to Sikri or becoming a webinar sponsor. More details can be obtained in the follow-up email that you will receive or by emailing info@sikhri.org. A few reminders for everyone. Please wait a few seconds for the link to appear on the follow-up survey. Your feedback is extremely important to Sikh Research Institute, and we appreciate the time you've taken to listen to this wonderful webinar. And as I end the webinar, on behalf of Sikhri, I thank Inderpreet Virji and our e-Sangat today for coming together and learning about our legacy and our values. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you, Ji. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.